खंडमंडलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनं शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीकृष्णाय नमः। Somebody who introduced me said about my meeting various persons and going to various ashrams and so on. Perhaps they don't know and they missed something, which was that when I was wandering in my youth, I also happened to meet Prabhupada in Bombay, who introduced me to then one of the initiating gurus by name Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And then we went to Mayapur, and there I spent some time. I also visited the Gaudiya Math, which of course is the source from which ISKCON has come. And since I wanted to involve myself in the practice, theory is one thing, practice is another, and also be familiar with the literature, I was sent to Vrindavan. So I spent some time in the Vrindavan ashrama, the place where Prabhupada lived in a small kutir before the ashram became so big, and probably I think wrote his Bhagavatam. I'm not sure with it. So it's not that I'm totally unfamiliar with the system. But today's subject is what Upanishads mean to me. Upanishad mean many things to many people. I am going to tell you what they mean to me personally. They need not mean the same thing to you. They could be different because it is Shruti. There are various interpretations of the Shruti. One thing I would like to dispel from the minds of our friends here, that people think that the Upanishad is an intellectual exercise. You think that the Upanishad means that you theorize using your intelligence, you finally reach the Supreme Being, Brahman, and so on. Unfortunately, this is not a perfect definition of the Upanishad. From my understanding, since it's my understanding of the Upanishad, it's something slightly different from what the popular conception is. People think Upanishad means intellectual thinking. I think that my understanding is that the ultimate message of the Upanishad is that this finite mind of ours cannot touch the Supreme. Finite mind. The finite cannot become infinite. If the finite becomes infinite, then the infinite is only a collection of finites, which cannot be. How can it be that many finites come together and make? This is not possible. So, my favorite Upanishad, when I say favorite, not because it has anything special, because it comes from one of the ancient of the four Vedas called Samaveda. Now, Samaveda is a very important Veda. Would you say it is so important because Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharvana Veda? In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna describes his Mahimas, he says, among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. So Samaveda is such an important thing. All the music that is in this country has its origin and source in the Samaveda. And Samaveda is not chanted. Sama Gayanti, it's sung. It's not chanted. And it is that Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, which itself is a Gitam. Gitam means that which is sung, not spoken. You can't speak a song, the song of the Lord. Also says that among the Vedas I am Samaveda, which points to the importance of the Veda. Now, the Keno Upanishad appears on the surface to be a mere abstraction on trying to find out that which cannot be easily found, which is the Supreme Being. It starts with a question, because I like questions. I'm sure many of you like questions, we like to question. The question is who? WHO, not World Health Organization. Who? WHO. So the Upanishad starts itself by saying, Kene shitam patati prasitam manah, kena prana pradhama prayati yuktaha, kene shitam vacham imam vadanti, chakshut shotram kaudeva yunakti. It doesn't say what. If you say what is behind all this, then you can say it's an impersonal affair. It says who is behind this. If I refer to a fan, I can't say who is this fan. If I refer to a human being with consciousness, then I can say who. Who is this person? So the very fact that the thing is Keno, who, indicates a conscious being, but unfortunately not graspable by our indriyas, incapable of being grasped by our sense organs. So it says, who is it behind, who is behind the mind when it thinks? Who is it behind the eyes when we say we see? Who is it behind the ears when we say we hear? And who tastes when we say we taste? On one hand, it's a complete surrender to that Supreme Being. Even our tasting, hearing, thinking, talking, everything belongs to the Supreme. It is that which does when we think we are doing. Not that, he, who. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. Now, the Upanishad further goes on to describe what that who could be, admitting that here is something which is difficult to explain. The Rishi himself says, Yad vijmo na vijanimo yathaya tad anushishyat. I don't understand how to teach this to you, because we are not talking about an ordinary finite object. Then the Upanishad goes into explaining, purporting to explain this idea of the divine by saying, Chakshusha pashyati yana chakshumshi pashyati, that which our eyes cannot see, but because of which our eyes have the capacity to see, without which our eyes will be open but we won't see anything. The reason is, the little bit of Chetana, that is the part of the Supreme Being, is in us. It is because of that that we have consciousness, bodha, chitta. And therefore we can see. Otherwise the eyes can be open, but we will see nothing. Then it says something which is yan manasana manyute yanahur manomatam, that which even the mind cannot conceive of, but because of which the mind has even the capacity to conceive. That alone is the Supreme Being. Now what it's trying to say is that the study of the Supreme Being is not intellectual understanding or something that you can intellectually manufacture and say, this is the Supreme Being. It comes about perhaps the experience when you completely admit your inability to grasp it. Which means surrender, ultimately saying that I have tried all the circuses and all the things that are intellectually required, all the acrobatics. I find that cannot be touched by this. And therefore what do? Give up and surrender.